later on and who for some reasons have not been able to participate here today. So, I don't know, should we already begin? I hope that you are ready. And well, then once more, I would like to greet you here, or virtually here, in sunny Riga, in University of Latvia Livonian Institute. And so just a minute. And today we are having this kind of seminar which is dedicated to digital approaches to endangered language and communities from a Nordic perspective. Initially, this is a part of Digital Humanities Nordic 2020 conference that was supposed to be in spring, and as well as this event. However, we are having it now under actually the same conditions as it was in spring. And initially, when we thought about this event, the idea was that we should organize some kind of think tank or place where we can exchange experiences working on particularly endangered languages, trying to develop digital humanity resources for endangered languages and cultures as well. And because the more, at least here in University of Latvia Livonian Institute, the more we work on that, the more issues we stumble upon, and more we understand that sometimes approaches that are good for bigger communities, bigger languages, bigger cultures, they don't always work for smaller ones. They don't always work in conditions of limited data. And there are lots of technologies which you also maybe are not able to use in a way they were developed, but there are other ways how to use, sometimes surprising ways how to use to achieve different goals. So this event will be split in two parts. So the first part is now, it's taking place from 12 o'clock till 2 p.m. Not a.m., so always confusing a little bit about that. And this is meant to be more retrospective, so we'll try to look at various resources already being developed or that are already available for the languages people in different institutions across Northern Europe work on. And the second part, which will take place from 3 o'clock till 5, that will be more dedicated to discussing in a roundtable format, discussing those problems, issues, challenges, and principles that we encounter while working with endangered languages and endangered cultures. So I will probably start this first session on the rights of housekeeper, let's say so. And I will try to give you a small overview of digital resources for Livonian language. So basically, on the subjects that we here at the University of Latvia work on. So we are quite new institution. We have been founded just 2 years ago, 2 years and a couple of months, or 1 month to be precise. And digitalization for Livonians actually dates back in time pretty long way. So actually we can talk about Livonians entering a digital era already back in 1994, 1995. So this was a time when computers started to become more popular, and at that time in 1994 there was intention of publish the Livonian newspaper, and the three numbers of that were actually published. But the first thing was that we needed actually fonts, keyboards, very simple stuff to write in Livonian. Also, there was a problem with not having Livonian letters, because we have quite a complicated orthography letter-wise. And that was about the time when Livonian letters also got included in Unicode standard, although at that time it was not very popular for computers, so that time came later. But thanks to that, so we have been released from at least having these problems. So already the same, so in 1994, 1995, first fonts were developed for Livonian language, and also first keyboard drivers, so that we could start use it on the computers. And the first digital resource actually was created in 1995 till 1999. So it was digital database, and it was which was created for compiling Livonian, Latvian and Livonian dictionary, which was the first of a kind, because before that we only had Livonian German dictionaries printed. So and in order to do, and it was also the first dictionary that could be used for learning purposes as well, because it was based on literary Livonian orthography, differently from previous dictionaries. So there was a special database made, and basically all this dictionary was compiled entirely by digitally using FileMaker program that existed for Macintosh at that time. Of course, it was a little bit hacked to get Livonian sorting orders and all other things. But it actually took quite a long time. In 1999, this dictionary was published. It was not a big one. It was about 5,000 lemmas actually in each direction. It was also then turned around. So because the base was Livonian Latvian, and the Latvian Livonian was actually acquainted electronically. So in 2006, there was a next step in digitalization of Livonian, and it was the portal Livonis.net. Then it was Livonis.lv created, which is still operational, and it serves as a source for general information and as a news platform, as media. But it also has served over time a platform for various resources, for one time it functioned. So it functioned also as a kind of social network platform for Livonians, and also a place where you could chat and do other things. So and this is where also Livonian Institute operates under currently. So as you can see that there is Livonis.net and then Livonis Livod Institute or Livonian Institute at the same page, two parts of the same page. So bigger breakthrough in creating Livonian digital resources came in 2010, 2012. There were first online-based resources developed at the time. The one was made by Livonian enthusiast Reinis Zumbergs, who collected previously published dictionaries into one online dictionary, but it just matched the time when Livonian, Estonian, Latvian dictionary was published, which became the biggest Livonian, especially literary Livonian dictionary up until today. So this dictionary was, however, compiled old school way. However, it was compiled in computer, but it was compiled via Word document. When it was published, so this Word document were actually parsed into database, and as a result of that, so all this dictionary was turned into online dictionary, although it was static. So one time event, it was completely searchable and available, but it was not updatable easily, or it was very hard to make any corrections in that. However, that dictionary and material that was there, so it's about 13,000 lemmas, became a backbone of what we work today with. So the last breakthrough in the history of Livonian digital resources came actually starting 2016, 2017. It was after Estonian Latvian dictionary was compiled. So as being part of the project, there was developed dictionary compiling system, especially for compiling that dictionary, which was kind of extreme because it was like 40,000 lemmas to be compiled over a period of 2.5 years and also published on paper. So it was quite a task to manage. However, when this project ended, it emerged that the system itself is actually quite suitable also for Livonian. So what was done was that the system was taken from Estonian Latvian dictionary and then updated to suit Livonian needs. So there were added additional languages, so to fit this Livonian, Estonian, Latvian formula initially. And also it meant that all this previously existed Estonian, Livonian, Estonian, Latvian dictionaries became updatable, became very easy to modify. And this is how all these resources we are currently working on actually started to being developed. So later on in 2017, 2018, also to that lexicographical database, there were added a database of morphology, and which supplemented already existing information in the dictionary, but made it much more easy to people, especially unskilled people, who are just interested in a language, to much more easily to get to the forms of words and see the standard of Livonian working. And then it was supplemented after that also with a corpus, Livonian literary language corpus, which were then connected with existing two previously existing databases, which were, one was the lexicographic and other morphological database. So this is the main tool to adding lexics and poems to those other databases. So currently we are kind of in instant development. So currently the number of databases has suddenly increased very fast. So as I mentioned previously, so we had 3 databases, what we call words or lexicography database, forms or morphology database, and text, which are corpus that includes books, folklore, letters, and very, very different kinds of texts in it. And then since beginning of 2020, within the project of documenting Livonian place names, we have started to develop another database, which is actually key database to changing all the approach that we have been having before. And this is a database of place names. So basically all the place names are already registered and being registered into lexicography database as lexical units. But these place names also have are geospatially linked. So what it does enable us is that we actually can look to the data that we have through also geospatial perspective. And in order to increase that that multifunctionality, so there are 2 smaller databases that complement all these 4, and this is collections. So the collections that this is description of sources that are included in corpus, kind of background information that is important when you try to understand the language that you see, and also people. So people, informants, because every text has a source that it comes from. Every text has also a person who is behind that, who's either written it or told it. So and then having information about informants, and that I would like to discuss also later on in the second part, is, in my opinion, very vital and important when you decide about or try to do research on some language issues, especially when talking about endangered languages. So what this cluster of 6 databases actually allows us to do is that we can actually link the data is already linked between different databases, and so there has been also one switch that we have done now this year, is that we have eliminated, for example, texts from lexicography databases, examples. So examples are only in corpus, so to avoid data doubling, so that you have the same sentence in 2 different databases, and you change one and then another remains unchanged. But what we now can achieve because of this combination is that we can actually see, for example, geographical distribution of particular words or particular forms. We can better see dialects. We can also connect, no matter which way we enter, but we can get to the specific data from each of these databases. So we can look up a house in a village and see texts or folklore that comes from that house. We can see lexics that come from that house. We can see people who have lived there or being connected with the place, and vice versa. So we can enter through forms and see who is using particularly these forms, and then we can see who are these people, what is their background, and why they do so. And also this approach, so the geospatially based approach allows us also to look towards future, because there are lots of, and here we are talking about, like, we're going out of maybe a linguistic part of that, but there are lots of collections of both Livonian tangible and intangible heritage scattered across Latvia and in broader sense across Northern Europe, like Estonia, Finland, Sweden, etc. And we can add also these collections. We can connect these collections to the places, to the people they come from, and see the picture in really broad way. So this is maybe the smallest part, that how people actually can use these tools that have already output, like public output, which is the Livonian dictionary, and also you can see on the right the small excerpt how the grammatical information is displayed if you need to. So this is, let's say, very shortly about Livonian, and we are kind of we are in instant development, and this is, I think, that is one thing that characterizes most of endangered languages, endangered cultures. So we have to think. We always are thinking about something new, and be in a sense fast, and try to catch the world around us. This much is from me. So now I would like, probably we will discuss, if you have any further questions. I hope that we will have a little bit of time in the end of this part now, and if not, then definitely we can discuss all the subjects and all the things that are interesting to you in the second part, when the roundtable takes place. And now I would like to give a floor to our second speaker, Trond Trusterund from University of Tromsø, to speak mostly, I guess, about Sámi languages and the work that's being done there. and I hope also about others.
So, Trond here, 1 sec. I'll have to come up with the right document. And that one is here. There. There. I will. Okay, now suddenly the computer went very slow. I will first say some general words. Not that much about Sámi, but more on one step up level. And when I have done that, I will show you the web pages where you can see it in practice. So let me start by sharing the first part of the presentation. Okay, so I have been working now for 21 years this year with language technology for minority languages. First for Sámi and then also for other languages as well. Yes, so here in Tromsø. So our philosophy, or my philosophy, started out like the following. My background is a linguist, and I wanted to work with things that were linguistically interesting. And I saw when I started out, okay, we have HPSG, LFG, and DG. People who don't know these abbreviations could say that linguists used to like those abbreviations. They are things that linguists do. And we had also, at that time, statistical models of different kinds, hidden Markov model, machine learning. Today we have, of course, neural networks, which we didn't have that at that time. But what I was interested in was actually the intersection of these two things. That is, things that both were linguistically interesting and that worked for end users. And for me, this was finite state transducer for morphology and constraint grammar for syntax. And it is actually a theoretical point for me as a linguist that I had two different formalisms for what was going on within the word and what was going on between the words. I actually think that this is not a coincidence. And I see that the approaches both to the left and to the right of the intersection would differ in this point from me. So this was sort of my starting point, to go for the intersection between the two. And the idea behind the finite state transducer, actually this technology, as I see it, could have arisen in a capital with a technical university and a complex morphology for an official language. So I would expect this to turn up in Ankara or in Budapest or in Helsinki, and it turned up in Helsinki with Kimmo Koskiniemi's two-level morphology, which is actually this, that we have gusa, which means cow. It's a Germanic loan word, and we say we want this in the accusative, and we make a quasi-string with a weak grade trigger, and this weak grade trigger will then remove the S in the middle of the word. So then we will magically take those two intermediates and identical strings away, and we will end up with a pair, a bidirectional pair, going from the word form to the lemma and the analysis, and do that in a mathematically well understood way, which is a finite state transducers. So this is actually the foundation of everything we have been doing. And for morphologically complex languages, I have a hard time seeing, well, the only alternative to this I see is a table where you have all the analysis to the left and all the word forms to the right. That's also possible. So we build pipelines like this. This is in Norwegian. So take njeda, girl, add an illative, njedi, fix the ending, njedi, remove the diphthong, needy, and then you have the illative. So this would be the sort of conceptual pipeline for going from njeda to needy. Yes. So, and then for the CG, there we would say that, and this would be handcrafted rules, which we would say that, okay, mi ert letan muitalan, we haven't told it in Sámi, where we would say for all 4 of these 5 words would have multiple analysis. And we would say that make context sensitive rules. Say, for example, the second rule to take that one. So let has many analyses, and one of these is a connect, the connect verb form. And it would then say that, okay, the word to the left is a negative verb, hence choose a connect, and so on. And so then the analysis would then be the correct one, and to that we would add both syntactic functions and we would add dependency trees. We are well aware of that this can be done by huge corpora and by hand tagging and by machine learning. Our experience, though, is that what has happened time and over is that someone has sat down and written these rules, and then someone else have ordered a tagged corpus made by this system, and then they had run a machine learning on top of that. So what you say that fortunately for the neural network guys, we are around because we are the ones that are making the gold corpora. And also, of course, since we are working with, say, Livonian or, say, South Sámi, we actually don't have that many corpora to learn from. Okay, we have also made iCall. Sorry about that there. So again, we have been using the FSTs, and we have been using databases, and then we have utilized the fact that the finite state transducers are bidirectional. Not only can you say that Gusa is the accusative or genitive of Gussa, but you can also say that Gussa has Gusa as an accusative and genitive, and you can utilize that fact in order to make grammatically aware iCall systems, and we have done that, and that has been done also for, yeah, I will not go into Võro, for example, because Jack is coming after me. And we also have this, so this would be the iCall for second language learners, right? The ones that should learn the morphology. We also have some iCall for first language learners. So for example, if you are going to school and want to learn the syntax of a language you already know, then you can use our tools. Since this hasn't caught on, so we haven't been working with this for many years, but I think it's useful to keep this distinction in mind. We've also been doing machine translation, and we have been doing grammatically aware machine translation, not the Google type, so that we have started out with Bachpas le guakte Bardni, Shilius let guakte Bardni. So there's the priest has 2 sons, and on the yard there are 2 sons, but these are in Sámi and in Baltic Finnic have the same structure, right? Because we have this on me is habitive, and then we analyze grammatically. We have a lexical transfer component, and we have a transfer component saying that if you have an extensional analysis, it's the indefinite article. If you have a habitive analysis, then we have the to have verb, and so on. So then we have 2 very different translations here in the region. What is important to stress is our philosophy for machine translation, and that is that we have been building machine translation from minority languages two majority languages in order to provide minority language users the freedom of using the minority language. So for example, we have political discussion groups for Sámi parties that are promoting the Sámi language. And they have earlier, in essence, had a ban against or on using Sámi, because the people who don't know Sámi has been so sad and so left outside when the other participants have spoken in Sámi that they have stopped it immediately, which has been very ugly to look at. Now we have offered this machine translation system, and so now whenever these supporters of the Sámi cause that do not speak Sámi have been trying to stop the Sámi language discussion, they have been countered by the reference to our machine translation system saying that, okay, if you don't understand this, then go translate for yourself. So the burden of bilingualism has, by this program, been moved from the bilingual minority representative to the monolingual majority language speaker, which is where it logically belongs, right? Because the bilingual mother has the linguistic knowledge. So the bilingual one should not be the one to be burdened by translating his or her all comments into two languages. So the burden should be on the one that hasn't bothered to learn the other language. But we are very afraid of having the machine translation system the other way around, because the Sámi languages in the Nordic countries, especially in Norway, are now met with such a positive attitude, which is of course very good. But if the positive attitude had been paired with a machine translation system from Norwegian into Sámi, we are afraid that in a heartbeat, 95% of all Sámi texts on the internet would have been by good doers knowing nothing Sámi and not much proofreading anything, so that the tiny Sámi literacy online would have been drowned, and we really are afraid of that. So we don't build that. We build corpora. So this is of course the thing that linguists like, because then you can have this dependency analysis from our tools. But as we see, for example, from our work with Inari Sámi, is that the people who revitalize language, they really use this corpora, because then say, okay, how is this word used? Can I trust my dictionary on this issue? I'll check. I'll go to the corpus and check. And they go to the corpus and check all the time. So this is here it says 28 million words for North Sámi. For Inari Sámi, it says 1.6 million words, which is very much for Inari Sámi. Then, starting 10 years ago, we have been generalizing our solutions from the Sámi languages to other languages. And on a principle basis, what we have been doing, we have been building an infrastructure saying that you you have linguists putting knowledge of the language, words, dictionaries, grammar, grammatical instinct into the infrastructure, and you get tools and other stuff out. So the thing is that this infra box, I'm going to open it shortly, should be such that the language independent things are done once, and the language dependent things are left to the language experts. So the thought has been to do it like this, that we'll have, okay, there are some technical words there. So we have a core, common scripts, shared filters, schemes, and we have templates that we copy up for each language with build rules and content. And then we have, okay, it says GNU Auto Tools. It's the tools that we use. And with these three types of resources, we can build tools for individual languages so that the experts on Livonian or South Sámi or Buryat Mongolian should concentrate upon the grammar of Livonian, South Sámi, and Buryat Mongolian, and all the resources that are common for the languages should be solved common. So, for example, in August, we launched a Faroese spell checker. This is my hobby, working with Faroese, and so we are actually utilizing the Faroese people as beta testers for our Microsoft Word installer. The new generation of it, because for some we use old generation, but they are now the beta testers on new, and they have been finding all kinds of errors, and these errors in these installers, right, they are now being plowed back into infrastructure so that all the languages we work with will get a better infrastructure. So this is actually saying the same, that we have these linguistic resources, we have the databases, and we make these programs, and we have different people working with it, so that and if you go back to this, what's interesting, it is that languages, since the linguistic programming that is being done is interesting to philologists, then for South Sámi or Buryat, we have both language activists, and they are of course interested in their own language, but we have also philologists. So philologists for English are not interested in making English spell checkers because they are made, or machine translation, because machine translation and spell checkers are made in ways that are not interesting to the English philologists or English linguists. But the way we do it, these tools are interesting also to the philologists, which means that the Institute of Mongolic Studies in Ulan-Ude or in Heidelberg in Germany are interested in this, so that the Finno-Ugric department in Helsinki is interested in this. So that's why we can make these tools, even though the commercial potential in the majority of languages is zero. So this is again, so for each of these things, we have the what we do as linguists, and then we have our programmers making them into practical programs. And the philosophy being that if you have the performance at the y-axis and the time at the time axis, then the first 5 years are spent trying to find out what this is about. But we have been doing that, so new language communities could actually start here and say that the next 1.5 years there is tremendous progress, and then we spend the rest of the life to go from, say, 95% to 99%, which is of course the time-consuming thing. So these are the places on the continent where the languages that are under these circles, they are the languages that need language technology of this type. For the languages outside these circles, they can use our language technology, but they don't have to. The languages in the circles have to use our, not our tools necessarily, but our type of tools, morphologically aware type of tools. So that was that. Oh, I forget the power supply, but I have 5%. Do I have time to show some net pages, or am I out of time now? I think I'm perhaps out of time. So what do you say? I forgot looking at the clock when I started.
Yeah.
Oh.
You do have a time for showing this.
Okay, I'll show some web pages then. fine. I just have to let me think. There. Stop. Close. I'll take a technical break to put my charger, so then you can, and thereafter what I'm going to do is to show a couple of web pages, because what we have been doing in May this year actually is that we have been moving our work to GitHub. Sorry, the camera is now going away, and then sorry for that, but now, okay, now I have electricity. Let me now start the screen sharing again. There. Wait. There. Okay. There. This web page here, giellatechno.uit.no, is our portal meant for linguists and meant for people interested in grammar, so that what you can do is that you can go here and find your language, and actually these were the Sámi languages, but you could also have other languages here. So we have other Uralic languages and again other languages. So if you go back to the Sámi languages, then we could go here and do, for example, text analysis. Mun inlean muitalandu birra. I have not told about yourself. Oh, I didn't check that this works. It works. So here I will get the syntactic analysis for that one, for example. And you also get those for all the other languages that we have here. Then there is technical documentation. Okay, where is my technical documentation? There is a technical documentation where we go behind the screen. This is sort of try this at home. So here, getting started. And we also then have information on the different languages. And it is certainly not the case that we in Tromsø have been working with all these languages. On the contrary, both Valts and Jack, who are here also, have been instrumental, especially Jack, in very many of these languages. And we also have had colleagues in Edmonton and other places. And we are also not, have also not worked equally much on all the languages. So for example, the languages with an asterisk, they don't have any substantial content, but the ones with no asterisks have some content. So that's that. What also has happened is that we are on GitHub, so that you can go on github.com/giellalt, as Giella language technology, giellalt, and there you will find either all our keyboards, so which is for keyboard setup for 48 different languages, or we could go long, and then we will find the linguistic resources for 122 different languages on very different levels of activity and so on. And yes, but for all of these, and actually also for eventual new languages, it is the case that you can take your linguistic model, plug it in, and get these practical tools out. And to what extent this is a sine qua non for minority languages, to what extent other revitalization work is more or less important than this, I think we will return in the panel discussion. But what we offer here for everyone on open licenses is an infrastructure to create tools that are interesting both for linguists and for language activists and language users. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you, John, for the great presentations and also for this practical view on that. So I guess that now. Sorry? No, just. So now we probably go to Jack with his presentation. Are you on Zoom? No.
No, I'm not on Zoom.
Okay, then send it to me.
Okay.
Now we have. We'll try to manage Jack's presentation, which is on his computer currently. And
yeah, just
so just a minute. Can you just Jack, can you send by?
I just glued in the URLs I referred to in the chat.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, can you send with AirDrop? No.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Maybe let's change a little bit order, and as long as Jack will get Jack's presentation fixed, I maybe would like to get the floor to another one of our guests working closely with Trond and Jack in developing language tools, and that would be Juha Sullev from Võro. So to tell about language tools developed in cooperation and then separately for Võro language. Sullev, please.
Oh, tere. Have a nice day. Yes, I am here in Tartu and I am working with Võro. Do you hear me? Yeah. Very good. Actually, I have some slides too, and I have sent to you, Valts, my slides also. And I don't know if you can put them on the screen.
Okay, just a moment. It's downloading.
Yeah.
So okay, I will then share them from my computer here.
Okay.
So, and you just tell me when I have to switch them.
Yes, of course. So first of all, if we will start about Võro digital resources and language technology, so I will give some prehistory. And it's quite similar to Livonian digital resources and language technology prehistory. Yes, let's take next slide. Because also we started in early 1990s with that, and the first small Estonian Võro dictionary went out in 1992, and after founding Võro Institute 1995, we started with composing Võro Estonian dictionary in 1996, and first, as we heard from Valts, first Livonian fonts, yes, came out a bit earlier, but our Võro fonts came out in 2000. Yeah, Next slide, please. And then the first proper dictionary, the very first from 1992 was only some 1,000 words, and the first proper dictionary, Võro Estonian, was from 2002 with 15,000 entries on language articles, and it went into the internet. Online version went out 2004. And also founding of Võro Wikipedia, I think, is quite important for developing Võro language digital resources, Võro Corpora, and it started. It was founded in 2005. And now, if we take next slide, then we will go already on history, from prehistory to history, and the first proper Võro digital resources project is were started in 2011 with Estonian language technology projects. Võro Institute applied for money for projects to Estonian governmental language technology project in 1911, and it was namely Võro Corpora, Võro language corpora project. And the first Võro language corpora are from 2012 to 13. And also one very important stage in Võro language technology and resources history is cooperation project with Sámi language technologists. It was Norwegian, Estonian, Finnish cooperation from project from 2013, and it was financed by how it was Nordic ministers. I don't remember the exact name of this foundation, but some Nordic cooperation project. And now, next slide, please. And we shortly, it was shortly the history and prehistory, but if we will speak of current stage, current day, today, then our main goal is to have or to build a user-friendly digital language environment, to provide it, to provide support for using and developing Võro language there. And our, yes, next please. Our current language technology project is also financed by this Estonian language technology project, governmental, and it is Võro and Seto integrated language resources. And we try in this project to, yes, next please, to integrate Võro and Seto digital language resources and language technology through Võro Estonian Võro online dictionary. And also our aim is further developing of dictionary, same online dictionary and other digital resources and technology tools. Yes. And please next. And this is this same online dictionary sõna.org, and we have their dictionary. Main part is dictionary part, and then also corpora, corpus. And in corpora part we have there actually 4 corpora. Yes, we can see it on next slide. One is corpus of Võro language newspaper Oma Leht, and one is Seto language newspapers corpus, and also literature corpus. And one more we have on the next slide. It is rööpkorpus, yes, it is parallel corpus. Yes, and in next slide we will see one tool connected with this dictionary, online dictionary. It is we have also sounds. We can listen sounds, how Võro words sound, and we have such a tool, online recording tool. Everybody can record, can give their voice to Võro dictionary to say some Võro words with their own voice. And here we have example on this page where people from different parts of Võro area have said this ABC book. And yes, everybody can use it and can give as a gift their words, read it by their own voice to Võro dictionary. It can be some cooperation of all Võro speakers, and even not Võro speakers. It's also very welcome when some Livonian speaker says with Livonian accent some Võro word, or Sámi speaker with Sámi accent, then that just it appears with, for example, Riga, and mail from Riga says some Võro word. Okay, it's more than welcome. Next slide, please. Yeah, here is just this working environment where you're recording these words. And then next is our, as I named also, our cooperation with Norway, with Sámi, the language technology in Tromsø, and it's one of most precious tools of Võro learning of Võro, Võro keelt or ohpa in North Sámi. It is really very important to Võro students. We have Lexa, Numbra, Fona, Morpha, and Morpha S and Morpha C for words, learning from numbers, from phonology, and from morphology, such exercises. Yes, next please. Yeah, it's words learning, yes. And actually we have here 7 language pairs. We are very proud of it because Sámi, for Sámi languages it was built so that there was Norwegian, Swedish and other Scandinavian languages and German and English too. And now we have all these language pairs also for Võro. It's a very good thing. Yes, next please. And our cooperation with Estonian Language Institute in Tallinn is also very important to us because with these people we have built this Võro speech synthesizer, and it is freely available. And on the next slide you can hear where it is integrated in the same Võro dictionary, online dictionary. All words are read by voice, by human, but all sentences are read by this synthetic voice. And we have 2 voices, voice of 11-year girl and the voice of man. And I think it is, in my opinion, it is not worse than Estonian voice synthesis. It's quite good. Yes, and on the next slide you can see the same thing. This synthetic voices is integrated also into the Võro Keelt program, and these sentences are also read there by the synthetic voice, girl voice. And also on the next slide, with numbers part in numera, all dates and numbers are read. They can be quite long and in very big variation. We have millions of numbers, of course, and nobody could read it in, but no human could do it. But this synthetic voice is a useful tool here. Yes, and now please next slide. As Valts told, Livonians had their first keyboards very early, already in 1990s, but our first keyboards came out not only quite recently in this Estonian-Norwegian cooperation project, and mainly thanks to Trond and other our Tromsø colleagues. And yes, for sure, yes, Trond and sure. And we have both Mac keyboard for Mac OS and Mac operating system and Windows. And the specific of Võro language is that we need very many palatalized consonant marks, and it is quite complicated to get them all. But in these keyboards, with the help of these keyboards, we can do it. Of course, there are some problems unsolved yet because of the same Unicode thing. Not all Võro letters are in the Unicode in the proper way, but in some way they are available here via this keyboards. Next, please. Also, mobile phone, smartphone keyboards are available for Võro from Google and SwiftKey, and I use them every day. I use, if I write some message in Estonian, then I switch on Estonian keyboard, and then in Võro, when in Võro, then to Võro keyboard, and I write every day then both languages. And of course, if I will write Estonian text with Võro keyboard, it will be terrible. It improves or Estonian words to Võro, but and vice versa. And so I have to switch keyboards, but I have used to do it, and it's quite good, I think, to have them both. Yes, and next slide, please. The most advanced part, I think, of Võro language technology is this machine translation. We have done first attempts many years, but rule-based translation, machine translation attempts weren't very successful so far. But also we have now first attempt of this neuro based on neuro translation, and it is done with cooperation of Võro Institute and Tartu University, this language neuro translation work group. And as you see now their first this attempt is it translates in many Finno-Ugric languages, in Estonian, Finnish, Võro, North Sámi, and even South Sámi. But of course, not all language pairs are good. Only Estonian Võro pair and Estonian Finnish are they are a bit better much better than other pairs now. But of course they are making mistakes and so on. They are just first tests. Yes, next please. And what are our future plans? Of course, forward development of all of Võro digital resources and technology. And one of the most important things is Võro FSD, what we are doing with Jack and also Trond and other Norwegian colleagues are helping us. And this Võro FSD is base for Võro OAPA and for Võro spell checker that is already usable in LibreOffice, but yes, we must increase this quality of Võro FSD. And our current Estonian language technology project is dealing also with this, and Jack is involved in our Võro Institute project of language technology. Yes, next please. And of course, this Võro Estonian Võro online dictionary, we must do it better and better, and to integrate all other resources and tools with Võro dictionary. It is like some kind of main portal of Võro linguistic resources where people can easily get all these things. And of course, we want to proceed or cooperation with other projects and institutions like Estonian Language Institute in Tallinn, and maybe in someday also with Tallinn Technological Institute, and so on, of course, with Tromsø and Helsinki, and with maybe with Livonian Institute and so on. We cooperation with other institutions who have been already one of the most important things of our Võro Institute and Tartu University South Estonian Center when we are speaking of language technology. Yes, and I think I am at the end of my presentation now, and I want to thank you in many big and smaller languages.
Aitjumma also.
Pieno.
And thanks for a great presentation on Võro. I do apologize to everyone for a little mess with slides. I was struggling with autoplay, but everything fixed. So and continuing, because there was a lots of talks about Jack previously. At least Julian so mentioned him 4 times or 5 times, if I counted correctly. So now it's probably time to give the floor to the Jack, speaking, continuing actually the same story before.
Hello, can you hear me? Yep, okay, good. So a lot of this stuff will come to you as a rewording of what's been said, but let's just take a look at points of departure. I think this is a very important thing, that we are looking at language resources and facilitation, and then there are questions of prominence versus eminence, feasibility and functionality, and our languages, how they fit into the picture. One of the problems that we run into is if we say that, well, our languages are low resourced, then that's what they say about Hindi and German. And so it's kind of hard to actually get support for what we're doing. So if prominence is being widely known and everybody wants to have eminence, then maybe that's not quite what we're looking for. We're looking for what little we have, putting it together and making it functional. We need to put what little we have together. And so we can talk about language domains, we can talk about education, media, public services and infrastructures, and we'll find that a lot of our languages have little pieces of this and that, but there's no full coverage. So when we look at domains, we want to know where our language is spoken, or where do we use them? Do we use them at home? Do we use them in the marketplace? Can we use them in the marketplace? Can we get information through this source, or is this just a way that we share our own information in communication? And maybe it's we say that we live, our homeland is our native language. When we look at education, then the question that comes up is our language only the subject that we study, or is it the medium of education? And and is it accepted? So when we look at the Finnish situation, then it's all right for a non-native to write a doctor's dissertation in Sámi and defend it, but it's not okay for a non-native speaker of Livonian to do the same. Media, written, audio, audiovisual, and here what you see, you'll see that in the case of, for example, Sámi, then there's a high acceptance. This is what should be done, and therefore the media is brought in, but there's a lot of translated media. So this is the majority of the written material that you run into. But on the other hand, when you get to the audio and the audiovisual, then you might actually come down to discussions with the individual people. And then the SCOLT therefore has a public services and infrastructure, which is hard to come by when you go into our eastern neighbor in Russia, and you want to know, they have a lot more media. They have radio, television, newspapers, but can you get public services? That's something that is being worked on, and I think that our friends in Syktyvkar are the ones at the forefront of that development in Russia among the Uralic-speaking peoples. So what kind of prerequisites for digital presence? We talked, Trond has spoken of lexicon, so has Sulev, and morphology, syntax. We need extensive corpora, and this is something that Valts has been working with. Online dictionaries, spell checkers, tools, and iCall. But the most important thing, of course, is that the community actually wants it. So if we look at our drop in the bucket, just the little bit that we can give, we can say that looking at a few languages, if we look at SCOLT Sámi, Komi-Zirian, Erza Moksha, and Medo-Mari, let's just take a look. And what does it mean when you talk about lexicon? Now, lexicon, all of the languages have bilingual lexica. And this is because when we start out with field research and things like that. But the fact that we have very small monolingual dictionaries in Komi-Zirian and Erza is because somebody has decided that, hey, we can explain this terminology or these words in our own language. We don't have to go through a different language because it's easier or it's more concise. They've decided that their own language is concise, and the stories behind the Komi-Zirian and the Erza are completely different. The Erza was an author who decided that he wanted to compose his own dictionary, and of course this also means that there are a lot of people in the community that want to do their own dictionaries, but they're all bilingual dictionaries. In the Komi-Zirian, from the book that I've looked at, it's also it's put together as a single language dictionary, but this was sponsored actually by the Research Institute. If we look at morphology, I'm just saying that there is morphology in research, education, and finite state. They do not necessarily coincide. And so this once again is the choice of the community. You have to demonstrate how it actually works. Look at syntax. So with the SCOLT Sámi, we haven't done any developing on the syntax that we need to at the moment. We're trying to utilize what has already been done for North Sámi and Southern Sámi. And this shows that we still have to do something because there's that much of a difference in the syntactic structure between Southern Sámi and Skolt Sámi that it just doesn't quite work. I'm saying that the syntax in Komi-Zirian and Erza and Moksha are emerging. There's no strong research development on that at the moment, but the Medomari already has international collaboration, and that has been set up. You'll want to go to the U Corp on the Kļava Techno servers, and then we can look at corpora. And this is just what kind of things would you expect to see in corpora? So for the Skolt, we have translated media and a minimal original oral and written and research. These are very limited resources at the moment, but something that's coming out at the University of Oulu. If we go to Komi-Zirian, then they have a lot of original text that you can use on the Fulab search engine, but they're not the only ones that do Komi corpora. Of course, we also have corpora in at Kļava Techno in Tromsø and also in Helsinki, but then there are other corpora collectors and providers in Russia that do this. So this means that there's a competition, and competition can be very good for language development. Looking at Erza and Moksha, then I would say that the amount of corpora is smaller, but it hasn't been annotated as well. And then with the Medomari, that should be something that Trond can tell what the progress is on that, because he also is involved in that.
Yeah, Trond, please.
Oh yeah, already. Yeah, I can do that. In the Tromsø server, all these languages, let's say, for example, Moksha, they have a basic corpora of the Wikipedia. In addition to that, Medomari has online now 4 million words of Onchiko, the newspaper. But this autumn, we are going to release a corpus provided by Andrei Chemichev at Republic of approximately 64 million words of Medomari and so 7 or 8 million words of Hilmari. This will, in essence, make Medomari by far the largest Uralic corpus outside the Estonian, Hungarian, Finnish languages, and the state languages. So that will be a very good resource for anyone interested in Mari Mari syntax and Mari lexicon, and it also is very well annotated over the decades from the late 20s until today, so that longitudinal studies of Mari will shortly be possible. We also think of giving grammatical analysis of the other languages, although, as Jack points out, they will be not as good as they could have been in an ideal world. Yes, thanks.
Okay, so lexicon. I mentioned earlier with lexicon, you have proponents, you have language community, research community, and infrastructure. And what is interesting, if you look at the Skolt Sámi, working with the Skolt Sámi language, it's been very, very nice, because anything that we've been able to provide, they've greeted as being a positive development. But what is interesting, even today, we've done research with and development of a word-for-word dictionary, not really contextual usage, but in their discussions on Facebook, then more often than not, there's always a reference, well, look at the Excel sheet that we share, not at the dictionary, but at the Excel sheet that they have. So there's more work to go, and we see that the community has their own presence that's definitely felt. We look at bilingual format, and that was what I said earlier. This is the first type that comes out, and then you have the monolingual dictionaries that are the first ones beyond Hungarian and Finnish and Estonian. And Trond is, well, he hasn't shown these addresses, but these are other dictionaries. Of course, there are additional ones, and especially our flagship Northern Sámi is not listed on here, but here's the in red you'll see the Skolt Sámi address for opening up a morphological dictionary and click in text. You can go for terminological resources at Sapni.org. So this is where Kielitekno and Divun come together in Kieli-LT. And then you can go to Siktigar, and here they also have bilingual dictionaries available. Terminological work that they've done before, these are multiple languages, and they've decided to do their morphology browser-based. And so you can, there's a page for where you would install that into your computer for use. And then as a side project, I've worked with people at University of Helsinki, where we use the Kielitekno lexical data, and we just give it a slightly different presentation. But here we're working with Verd, which is stream or flow in Skolt Sámi, and this is what we were using to allow the Skolt Sámi community and researchers at Oulu to do their latest dictionary. And so just to give you an idea of what we were working with, we have, of course, we have IDs, we have lexemes, part of speech, continuation lexicon, but we have different ways of sorting. And so we can sort in reverse consonants, which means that if, in the case of Skolt Sámi, we're not really that interested in what the vowels are, but the consonant structure of the word, then we're able to put those words into an order that makes it easier to find the same word structures and therefore identify them. This is something that that they wanted us to do in Excel sheets before, but here we have it put into the database. And one of the exports that we do from Verd is then LaTeX. So this is just something that is being worked on for the Finnish Skolt Sámi dictionary that was brought online in August of this year. And what about morphology? Is morphology a hearth piece? In other words, do people research morphology just because they think it's fun? Or do they have a purpose? Do they want to actually achieve something with it? And this is something that Trond was essentially pointing to when he was talking in the origins of his interest, different spheres that intercept. And so this is where you want to see how many different ways you can use the same materials. And this is not, it's just not just our description of morphology, but maybe it's a need for us to communicate with academia and the research circles that they should actually be trying to achieve something with what they are documenting. Syntax, there's not as much of a problem. There are a lot of things that you can get out of syntax, and Trond was showing work with this, so was Sulev, text-to-speech translation, and this is what syntax, however you manage to get it, is going to open new doors. So then we have the syntactic corpora, and I'm going to show you what Trond would tell me, and I think he would agree on this, is that there's no reason to have extremely large annotated corpora when you can design an analyzer and disambiguator that you can do things on the fly. So this is how it works for Northern Sámi, and Trond showed us a similar slide. So what does that look like with language which we haven't gotten that far with? Okay, well, this is something that we run into in Võro, and if you look at the, you'll find out that some of the words are not in the analyzer. This is a terrible thing, but it means that research is in progress. And there are also other problems too with a young orthography. People don't always write in the same way, and so then we have to design and bring in things such as that this is supposedly an orthographical error that is missing the palatal sign on the S. If we take a look at the material I was able to get from the Livonian Institute here, and we'll notice that we're missing words. And of course, there are going to be problems where we have to look at the words and decide what the context, how do we disambiguate when one word form can be interpreted in so many different ways. One thing that is where we can merge, where we can bring development and research together, is in tree banks. Tree banks are things, this is a place where you store your golden resources. And for the Erza tree bank, you might, just an example of what kind of information we have here, optional translation, of course. It might make it easier for people to understand the sentence that's being brought in, but we're bringing in a lot of information here that has to do with morphology and the syntax. So this is something where you're opening up and you're letting other people look and see what your challenge is and making that data available so that so you can get some positive competition, hopefully. And of course, there are different tools for doing this work, and this is the work that you do. Of course, you're working with programs to disambiguate so that in the future you don't have to do all the disambiguation by hand. But as soon as you get a sentence disambiguated and you put it in the bank, then it's there. You don't have to disambiguate it a second time. Parallel corpus, just recently, in fact, well, in February, March, I put a parallel corpus up with a person from the University of Helsinki, and this had to do with Bible verses from different Finno-Ugrian languages. And here the selection you can see, there's Suomi and Udmurt, and actually what we did on this parallel version is then each language, each publication year was termed as a separate language. And so then you can actually run into parallel materials from the same language. So, language technological derivations. Once again, we have our facilitation tools, spell checkers, and keyboards. This is the one you wanted to see. You're familiar with the Wahpa, and so you already saw this picture, but it was a different language, it was a different setup. The whole aspect of working in Kielä Techno has been that if the bicycle has been invented, you can paint it a different color. And I've done some work with language description, and I hope that it's made a better person out of me. And I hope that it's been useful for the people working with that. But I think that we should all, isn't this showing up? It's not. Okay. I think that sometimes we have to look around to other places and find out something new. We need to look for new domains that we can claim. And here I have a screenshot of what they've done in the Seattle area, the Lushu, where they have, it's about a 2-minute weather forecast for 5 days, and it's a good way to practice your numbers and your place names and weather in the future and past. But all in all, in collaboration, we trust, and we have to help the language communities to make a constructive choice. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jack. You stop this one. Thanks again for a very nice overview also about the subjects that we will probably return in the second part of this meeting. And now, as a last speaker here in a row, I would like to give a floor to Christian Kankainen, who's been working with yet another endangered language, which is connected also with our region, and Votic, which is currently spoken in Western Russia, but it has also been kind of language which is closely connected to Estonia, but also in Latvia, because in Latvia we have a group of Votic people settled here in 16th century in southern Latvia, so the Votic linguistic heritage can be found also in Latvian. So Christian, please.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yes, good. So I'll share my screen. So, great. Thank you very much for inviting me here. In spring, I was very eager to talk about work that has been done and that is being done for Votic. Unfortunately, as life changes, I am no longer able to continue my work with Votic, or let's say so. I hope to be able to do it, but someone has to push me. My background is a bit different. I have an NGO for making language technology for, let's say, Votic. And I've never had any real big institution behind me, so it's a bit of a one-man approach. And something that has been bothering me all of the time with Votic, with my work on Votic, is that what happens when the language technologist leaves the field? And well, this in the case of Votic quite literally means what happens when I leave the field, which I have now done. And this is due to the size of the Votic community, I would say. It's a nice size, it fits in a small bus. And the language is barely spoken without linguists around. Hopefully more and more. My angle of attack to the Votic community has been through this lady, Heinike Heinso, and her summer school, MS Vunukassa, which she has organized since 2010. Yesterday I heard that she will not organize it anymore. Someone please help me organize it more. Her idea was to connect grandmothers with their grandchildren, or the other way around. And my idea here was to boost the language prestige for the kids with the help of language technology. And actually, there has been a rising number of young participants. I don't know if it has been due to me or due to this device here, the harmonica. First thing I did for this community was technology made out of wood, morphological dices or cubes. Many variants of this has been done. So in the end, there was around 150 cubes with morphological affixes and stamps, etc. And the game was to just pour everything on the table, and everyone, well, in a limited time, who came up with the longest string won. Of course, many variants of this is possible. Make up the longest word, make up the longest sentence, etc. It was very nice to see this thing tangible by elders, by small kids on the table, and they really liked this game actually. And it's not that far away from FSTs, for example, I would say. Unfortunately, the next thing I did was not the Votic keyboard. This I did 2 years ago. No, 2 years ago I asked the participants of the summer school to fill out an empty keyboard layout that I had printed out on paper, to fill it out with their alphabet in a way that they think makes it easy for them to write in Votic. I got one filled in paper back, which was very interesting actually. You could analyze it more. Very big thanks to the people behind Kļava LT and Kļava infrastructure. who has done a tremendously good work to make it very easy to create the software for the keyboard to the computer. Last year, I was able to deliver them the first hardware Votic keyboard. And they were quite excited about it being hardware. I mean, it's a nice gift you can give. But what really made them energetic was thank you again, Gela, people that they could see for the first time their own language inside of their computer system, where they could change to their own language. Quite an prestige boost. Other things I've done is a Votic calculator. All textbooks on languages have too little numbers inside of them. It's very hard to correct yourself if you want to make a long string of numbers, digits of numbers, to see how should you put this into words. So this is possible with this small little tool, and you can also do your maths or homeworks with it. And of course, as anyone who makes these small things, at some point you really need to do some kind of web page or portal that combines all of these things into one. And this is something you really have to do. It makes it easy for the users to remember. They only need one address to remember, and they have their own time to explore and find things, and they can find the things that they want to find from there in an easy way. I don't know, if they use two things from there, they only need to remember one address instead of two, etc. Another thing which is not maybe that technological, but is good, is not only to make videos, which Heinike, she's on the picture, has done. It's a very nice thing to yet again put your Trojan horses in territories that are familiar to the language users, like YouTube, and in a way shock them that, wow, I can see my own language here. And do also put the subtitles there, because it even it not only is it pedagogical to have different channels of language coming to your head via voice and text, but also it really looks nice for people, I think, to see text coming on the screen in synchronous with the voice, and it also, I would say, it boosts the prestige of the language. Also, I put these videos on the Internet Archive, which is really nice that they have the language tag for Votic, something that YouTube doesn't have. Another project I did last year was to translate the Mozilla's Common Voice project, which is a big portal for crowdsourcing voice recognition data. So there's basically two things you can do. You can record written sentences, record the voice to them, or you can listen to other recordings and check if they are correct, or if there are any words missing. One thing that is nice is that Mozilla really emphasizes on the need to have accents and dialects. And this, of course, is not only good for Mozilla and bigger languages like English, which needs English voice recognition also for Finnish people speaking English. Sorry for all Finnish people that I said that, but I'm also Finnish, so we're on the same level. But this is really great also for Votic. They really liked this. The young people really liked this project, but they did tell me quite quickly but I can't speak it correctly. I can't speak Votic. I have an accent, and it's really nice to be able to just say that hey, this is technology meant for you. It's you should be proud of your accent, and you should record it even more here, because that's the only way to make this technology useful for you, not useful for some linguists or someone somewhere far away, but actually to make it useful for yourself. Common Voice is well, it's a new thing, so it's the interface is very modern. It works on most devices, and it really brought in a wow effect from the audience. Because in the beginning I was showing it in Russian to them, and then I was scrolling down the menu for all the languages it is available in, and as you can see, the menu is very there are very many languages, and it took me a while to come to Vadja, and during this time I was scrolling down. The kids were already making jokes that it should be available in Votic. Ha ha ha! I didn't understand their joke, but they thought it was funny. But when they actually saw Vadja turn up on the screen, they were just, what? And that was really nice to see. Very nice to see. This is how it looks like, the Votic version of it. As you can see, there's very much of Russian. Right now, it's a problem of Votic speakers not being able to speak too much Votic. And in this sense, if everything of this platform would be translated into Votic, the users would not be able to use it. But again, it's a nice way to engage the community into creating new words, into getting affected and wanting to translate, to remove some of this Russian text. And unfortunately, I haven't as my angle of attack towards the Votic community has been from distance, from Estonia. This is something I have to communicate more with them. Anyway, dictionaries for Votic. There's very many web dictionaries existing. I don't know if it's because of the bad internet connection or any other technical limitations, but they do prefer paper in the classroom. I think paper for them is, I mean, you only have to search the word up once in the book, you leave it open on the desk, and it stays there. You don't have to click around, go back and forth. It stays there, and you have the context of the other words around it. on the same paper. There's a huge dictionary compiled at the Estonian Language Institute with almost 30,000 headwords. This is really user unfriendly, but it is a very big, it has very big potential, as it also includes text examples and translations to it. So it includes a parallel corpus, and so there's around 400,000 tokens in Votic, Russian, and Estonian. The standard language, or the language that they try to make standard, it includes, the dictionary includes around 18,000 headwords. So it should be something to be used more. So here's a screenshot of this dictionary. You search for cat and you find very much of information, too much. Here's one I did based on Heinikke's textbook, around 1,000 words in Votic, Finnish, Estonian, Russian, and English. This they do use, even if it's small, limited, but it kind of it resembles the thing that they use in the classroom. Wahpa, thank you, Jack, for doing this. Votic Russian dictionary. Someone also did or started doing something on dictionary. I don't really know who and when. The status of corpora for Votic. Heinicke Heinsoo, as you saw on the picture in the beginning, she held a book in her hand. She writes book in Votic. These are inside of the Votic corpora, and also the Votic text from this huge dictionary. And so to get to the work I did lastly was my master thesis to do morphology for Votic, computational morphology. And as I said, my viewpoint departed from the question, what happens when I leave the field? As I knew, as we all know, morphology never gets done. And I didn't want to do it based on technology. So due to this, I needed to make a system that automatically creates the computational tools. So in this sense, it's technology neutral. And for the Votic users, for the language knowers, they needed to have an easy interface to add both words and paradigms, with no need of programming skills. What I did, it has nothing to do with Votic. It can be used elsewhere for other languages. So the workflow behind it is that the user starts by inserting any word form. The system then suggests a declination table for it by paradigms that it has saved from previous words that has been inputted. And the user needs only to inspect this table of word forms, and if the user thinks that this looks good, just press the button save and continue your day. If it doesn't look as the user wants to, they either need to choose another paradigm from the ones that the system suggests, or they can just simply in place in the table correct the word forms, and the system finds out automatically if this is according to another paradigm that already exists in the system, or if it needs to save a new paradigm into the system. And so backstage, behind the scenes, all the programming code gets automatically generated. This is how it looks like. This was a demo software made by Språkbanken at the University of Gothenburg. So here you have search for Kati, you get the table, you get counts from the corpus based on the word form. You can click and change in place. You can also change the morphological tags if you want to. So that was word Kati, and minuutti would be the same word that declines according to the same paradigm. So here you only need to get the paradigm for Kati, and you get all the words generated, and you get the counts from the corpus, and you can just press save to get it inside the system. And so behind the stage is, I mean, all the magic that gets these suggestions is not made by me. It's made by Markus Forsberg and others. It's called extract morphology. But what I did was that all the data that gets generated is saved in like lexical markup framework format, which is a standard. And actually all the data is there, not only the word forms, but also the process information of how you split these word forms into stems and how you put together the affixes. Everything is saved, and it's technology neutral description. And from this technology neutral description, I generate automatically the finite state transducer code that is integrated to the Kļava platform. So you get the FST and you get the spell checker for free from Kļava. Thank you very much, Kļava. And it also generates the source code that integrates the computational morphology module to grammatical framework. This is also one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, let's say, technology neutral, because already from the beginning, I wanted to have two different source codes for the same thing. And with grammatical framework, you can do other multilingual grammar applications. I've done a bit on Votic Russian phrasebook. And picture of the speller. And my dream for this, all of this is was my dream of a crowdsourced Votic speller or other morphological computational tools, with the hypothesis being very simple, that a user gets frustrated when a word is marked as incorrect, and the user will either add it to the dictionary with the tools that I showed, or or to learn out, figure out why it's incorrect. And by doing this, the user would get a new version of the speller available just seconds after inserting this word. So this was my my dream, and everything works. It just needs to be put online somewhere. A bit. Someone needs to figure out a bit more of the graphical user interface and so on. But technology behind it all works. A last remark, I'm running out of time, is that these code generators, I made not only 2 for Giela and grammatical framework, I also did a third one for my master's thesis that generated the LaTeX code for all the paradigms tables. So, so it is also extensible in the future towards new technologies coming out. So thank you very much.
So that спасибо from me as well. And thank you, Christian, for this last presentation in this part. And well, I guess that in these 2 hours, we have seen quite a lot of different approaches, different ways, and different perceptions and aspects of that you come together when you work on endangered languages. And we will leave the questions and discussion to the second part. So you're all welcome back to continue this talk on developing linguistic tools for endangered languages in a part that begins at 3 o'clock Riga and Helsinki time again. So see all of you again back here, and let's go for a small break. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you to the organizer, and see you again.